Eyup cock, it is time. We're locking it in. Premier League predictions for the 25-26 season. Now, obviously, we're going to be doing this in a tier list format. So, relegated, for example, if it was Arsenal, Aston Villa, and Bournemouth as the bottom three, right to left, it would go 20, 19, 18 in that order. Now, obviously, we know who's going to get relegated, so them three aren't in danger. But the categories we've got are relegated, scrappers, mid-tablers, Europe, UCL, and GWET. Now, let's just get into the things that everybody knows, which is that Burnley are going to finish last. Obviously, very good last season. Defensively, fantastic. They got 100 points. But from the starting 11 who were playing last season for Burnley regular, Egan Riley, the centre-back, has gone on a free transfer to Marseille. Josh Brownhill, the captain, who got, I think, 18 goals for Middle at Park, has left on a free transfer. James Trafford has gone to Man City. That is a large crop of Burnley's better players that have all left. Not good. When you're getting promoted and you're fighting biggest uphill battle of all time anyway, not best start losing all your best players. Thing is with Burnley, I actually do like some of the signings. I'm really impressed. Like Dubravka is not going to pull any trees, don't get me wrong. He's not going to come in and be best keeper ever, but they're not investing in the long-term future here. They're getting somebody who's been in this division forever. Dubravka is a very good keeper. Kyle Walker from Man City, I don't know what the fee is, and his wage is obviously going to be high, but the experience, again, not what he once were, Kyle Walker, but you don't lose your brain overnight, do you? He might have lost his pace, but he's still an intelligent footballer, and he'll just have to position himself a little bit better. And even by him losing his pace, still faster than 90% of the division anyway. He's just not Usain Bolt anymore. Other than that, they've bought Marcus Edwards, who were obviously on loan at him last season. They've bought Brozier in from Chelsea and Ugochukwu from Chelsea as well. And I actually like that one. That's quite a good signing. But I just think, obviously, they're always going to struggle to bring in the types of players that Leeds and Sunderland have done early doors. You're obviously going up against 17 teams that have just got much better size than you with loads more money. So I think it's almost lost before it even begins. It's sad, but that is the case for many promoted teams. Burnley, unfortunately, pack your bags. You're going at Championship again. Well, you'll win it, probably. And then we'll see you here to finish 20th again. I've been struggling with this one, to be fair, but I have settled on Leeds. Now, a lot of people are just looking at the badge and immediately thinking, oh, Leeds? Top half, baby, mid-table, yeah, light work. Never happening. Again, we look at the players that they've lost, which really is not many. From an actual starting perspective point of view, they've lost like odd squad player, but Firpo is the only player that they've truly lost to the starting 11. Now, they are linked with Leif Davis from Ipswich, and if they get that over the line, I will be impressed, because it's very like for like. It's probably a worse version of Firpo at the minute, but he's younger and English. So, you've always got that on your side. But I think Leif Davis is a very good player. So if they get that over the line, I'll be impressed. But Leeds, same as Burnley, 100 points last year. Very good defensively. Key difference being that Leeds were miles better going forward than everybody in Championship. Comfortably the best team in division. Even though them and Burnley both ended up on 100 points. Leeds, by and large, best team in league last year. Now, when you look at the players that they've actually brought in, Sebastian Bourne now at Wolfsburg for about £5 million. Not bad. Sean Longstaff, I think, from Newcastle's a really good buy for about £11 million, whatever that was. Jake Bidjolanol from Udinese. Anton Stach from Hoffenheim. Never watched after these lads in my life. But my viewpoint with teams that get promoted from Championship, right? If these players from Hoffenheim, Udinese, Lille, Wolfsburg were good enough for teams in Premier League, they would already be as a team in Premier League. That is truly my thoughts on this. And everybody thinking, oh my God, they've got these fantastic players in. There might be. These lads might be best things in sliced bread. I've never seen them play in my life, some of these. But if they were that good for this league already, they'd be at West Ham or Wolves or Brentford. You know, teams that have just been in Premier League for a bit now can offer more money than these three coming up. So can they actually be that good? I know this is such a backwards way of looking at it, but can they be that good if they weren't already in this division and they're not playing for a top side in another division? There's so much money in Premier League that if they were good enough, they would already be here. I think Fark is a major weak point for Leeds tactically. Experience in this division. He's been in it twice and finished last twice. I don't think they will finish last just because Burnley exist, but I do think going down with Burnley in 19th will be Leeds. Club size means nothing. Fan base means nothing. It's all about turnover and brass and the squad level that you've got, and also the subs. Leeds' squad depth is absolutely god-awful in comparison to 17th, whatever it were last season, West Ham. They cannot even get close. So I think Leeds will finish 19th. And going down in 18th, you can see where this is going. I think it will be Sunderland for the turkey of all three promoted sides getting relegated straight away to seal the deal. Now, Sunderland's business is very impressive. I will 100%, I completely agree with that. I am very impressed with the signings that Sunderland have made. And they're at such an advantage, I think, in comparison to Leeds and Burnley. In fact, that Sunderland can sell players that are either full profit or 90% profit, like Tom Watson, who went to Brighton last season, in fairness, but he was on loan. £10 million all profit. Joe Bellingham cost about 3 million quid from Birmingham, something like that. He's been sold for 26, 27 with a sell on. More or less full profit again. Their academy, Sunderland, is outstanding. So they can keep churning out players who are going to be in and around this squad. Obviously, they're not going in for this division. Be looking at Patterson at net. Ballard's been there for ever. Neil, Rigg. They got Mayenda for pittance. Like, a lot of these players are going to have a lot to say in this squad. And between them all, cost about £5. They spent very little amount on the players. So if they are to sell with the FFP rules and PSI and all these bollocks, then they will be in such a good position to just go and spend loads more, which obviously they've exercised that freedom so far. Yes, they got good money for Bellingham, but they've spent £120-ish million Sunderland so far. Main signings being obviously Enzo Lafille, were on loan here last season. Granit Xhaka from Leverkusen's crazy. That is a really good signing. They're the ones that you want to make. Jordan Henderson's and Granit Xhaka's, you know, bought Kyle Walker's to an extent. Like, them type of boys, loads of experience, intelligent footballers, know how this league works and know how to pull a ref. And I think that is what you need in this division. Matt Gui on loan from Chelsea, really nice. They spent a lot of money on a lot of different players in a lot of different positions. Done very well to pack the squad out, but I think it's going to be a lot of changes at once. I do think the best out of the three that's come up, even though they finished 20-odd points behind them both, they've all got full new teams now, more or less, or they will do by the time September comes. And I think Sunderland are in the strongest position out of the three to have a go, but still probably get relegated. So I've got Sunderland third last. Now moving up into the scrappers category, the first of the big 17, I have got West Ham. And this is not to do with their squad level, because like I said, I think their bench could be all Sunderland, Leeds and Burnley. And this is West Ham's bench that's finishing fourth bottom. The players that they've brought in look quite good. I don't mind the outgoings, really. Like, Kudus, they've got a good fee for, and I am truly not convinced by him. He's obviously a young lad at 24, and he can go on to do great things still. But I think that's a great sale for that much money. What, £55 million or something? That's a great sale. They've let a lot of, like, Fabianski, Ings, Zuma, Michelangelo, Cresswell, Kufal, a lot of proper West Ham that they've all gone now. It's Potter that I'm worried about, because the players coming in, like Tadibo already there on loan, wasn't he? And it's superb now. Mads Hermansen from Leicester, that's a great buy. I think he's one of Leicester's best players. I know he got relegated, but so did Liam Delap, and he's gone to Chelsea. So just because a player gets relegated does not mean he represents the full club. Hermansen's a great keeper. Kyle Walker-Peters on a free, really nice from Southampton. Callum Wilson on a free is the most West Ham signing ever. I just can't describe it. Callum Wilson at West Ham is, yeah. That's proper. But like I said, Graham Potter is the thing that makes me worry for him. They've obviously got certain standouts, like Jared Bowen, I think, could have a serious push for being top goal scorer in the league. Despite being fourth bottom here, I just think he's the main man. If he gets injured, there could be in a bit of bother. But they've just got something there that none of the other three have got, which is guaranteed, what, at least double figures goals. You're probably pushing 15 at least. He's a rate player. And they've got odd little, like Paqueta as well. These type of lads that the other promoted sides just have not got. And while I think Regis Labrie is probably a better manager than Graham Potter is, I just think the squad level and depth and just subs, when it's time to come on, West Ham could bring 5 subs on and not take much in it to quality, and other teams can't do it. West Ham, despite having a poor manager, I think will be safe in fourth bottom, 17th. Now into 16th, I have got Brentford, who I think a lot of people have got to go down. And I can understand why. Like, I'm going to be completely real. I can understand why. Thomas Frank has overseen a lot of Brentford's success. He's been there for a number of years. Obviously, him going, Brentford not going for a well-known manager, like, I couldn't even think of one off the top of my head, but they could have gone for some big name, and they've gone for a coach that's there to promote him to first-team manager instead. Now, from outside, if you don't know much about Brentford and how their model works and how they've been promoted in first place, being a minuscule team in fairness, historically a League One side, Brentford, that have been in Premier League year after year, never in danger, that's because they work under a certain regime. I think this is brilliant. Which might seem daft that they've promoted, what is it, a set-piece coach? What is it, peel oranges? What's he do? I've no idea, but he works in the Brentford model, which I think is perfect, and it's exactly what they need to carry on being successful. They can't have someone come in who demands certain players that don't fit the style of recruitment that Brentford have gone for, that's got a promoted in first place, turned over hundreds of millions, and continuously got better despite selling all the best players every year. Because they sold Brian and Buemo, they've got rid of Norgard, who's the captain. Mark Flecken's gone to Leverkusen. Like, even someone like Ben Mee, who's been about forever, has gone. They've lost a lot of good players there to add to a side that weren't even that cracking last year anyway. But just speaking on the keeper department to start with, like, yeah, they've lost Flecken to Leverkusen, but they've brought Kelleher in for roughly the same price. Kelleher's miles better than him, straight off the bat, and younger, and can develop into a better keeper. It's perfect. They've got Michael Coyote and a right back from Fiorentina, who's a wonder kid on Football Manager, so I'm sold. And then someone called Anthony Milambo from Feyenoord as well, a 20-year-old attacking midfielder. They want Utara from Bournemouth, the attacking midfielder, to replace Mbeumo, obviously. I know Vish is on about leaving as well, but if he does, Brentford have got, what are they in green this season so far? About £50 million before they've even brought the normal transfer budget anyway. By the time this is finished, this transfer window, they'll spend another £50 million. The team will look a lot stronger going forward. And while I think they'll be down near bottom and one of the worst of the consistent Premier League sides with West Ham and like Wolves and these other teams that are just always down here, or were last year at least, I think Brentford will be fine. Absolutely fine. How many strikers are we going back now that they've lost? Tony, Morpé, Watkins. You could go to Andre Gray. You could go all the way back a decade ago. They replaced every time with someone better. They'll keep doing it. They'll bring players in that none of us have ever heard of that in 2 years go for £100 million to Man United. It's the model that got them promoted in first place and that's kept them up. I think Brentford, again, will be fine. In 15 for another scrapper. Wolves. Similar to Brentford, I guess. Lost probably the best two players from last season. Cunha's gone to Man United for about 65 million quid. Ryan Aitnoura's gone to Man City for 30 something. Saul Gonzalo Guedes as well. Nelson Semedo's gone. Pablo Sarabia's gone. But these are players that have contributed to Wolves being crap for like a number of years anyway. Apart from Cunha and Aitnoura, they are big missers, really. But the players that they brought in, Jorgen Strand Larsen, who were on loan there last season, but they've got him from Celta Vigo, or an option to buy it, whatever. But they've actually got him this time. They've brought a young winger from same team, Celta Vigo, for £20 million. They've brought some lad called Wolf, that fits. John Arias from Fluminense. Yeah, not the most lightning electric transfer record ever from this window. But again, they've got a lot of business to do. They've got, 35 million quid still in green just from player sales, and that's including players that they've brought in. Plus their original budget, same as Brentford. They've got a lot of money to still go at this window with, and by the end of it, I think they'll be fine. Wolves towards the back end of the season were actually quite good. It weren't the same, like that they were crap to start with, don't get me wrong. But as it went on, especially when Cunha were out, really, they went on a spell of, 4 or 5 wins in a row, something like that. They won away at Man United, not that that were hard last year. But I think Wolves will be alright. Honestly, I think West Ham, I do think, will be quite close. But Brentford and Wolves, I know I've got them in 16th, 15th here, but I think they'll be way away from it. Next up in 14th, and the last one that I'm going to put in the scrappers is Bournemouth. Now, these have lost some players. We're talking about Wolves and Brentford here. Bournemouth have lost a lot of players. Dean Howson obviously has gone to Real Madrid. From Bournemouth to Real Madrid. What a world we are living in. But that's the best centre-back gone. Kirk has gone to Liverpool. So the best left-back and the best centre-half have gone. The thing with these is the loans that they've got, Bournemouth. That you actually look at the squad level throughout and the depth. And the players that they've sent out on loan would start for all bottom 3. Again, it's the reason that I've got these staying up. The squad depth is ridiculous. Last season, they had out on loan Joe Rothwell, who's now gone. But the level of player, Joe Rothwell, who were playing every week for Leeds for best side at Championship, gone. Roman Fowler, come back on loan. Hamid Junior Traore, Jaden Ante is obviously gone. Neto's gone. Philip Billing out on loan. Max Aarons, Krupe, who were on loan at FC Lorient. The 19-year-old forward, another Football Manager wonder kid, very Bournemouth. But they could just bring all these lads back in and spend nothing and survive. That's the standard. They spent money on Petrovic, the Chelsea keeper, and some left back called Adrien Truffert from Stade Rennais. Are you liking my accents here? So obviously they've lost Milo Kirkses, made £30 million in process, and brought in one from France who, by all accounts, is better than him. So these scouts that some of these smaller sides have got, outstanding work. But even when you bring them 2 players in and take that into account, Bournemouth, this transfer window so far, are £70 million in the green. They've got so much money that will go and buy odd few players again. Like, I'm posting these on Tuesday the 12th of August. By the time September 1st is here, Bournemouth, Wolves, Brentford, that you're all seeing right now. And I know you can say the same about Sunderland, Leeds and that as well, that have got loads of business to do. But Bournemouth, Wolves and Brentford have got so much money that they're sat on with squads that are already just better. And I do think Bournemouth will slide out table a little bit. I couldn't really make my mind up on them as to where I thought they were going to be. Because if they'd have kept these players like Howson and Kirkses and that, then I could have seen them pushing for something serious. But they were never going to keep them. When Real Madrid and Liverpool come calling and you sat at Bournemouth, you're going to go out. You could be the biggest Bournemouth fan ever if Real Madrid come knocking that off. But yeah, I think Bournemouth will be in the scrappers category, but will still be fine by the time this transfer window's done and players that they're going to bring in. And just generally, style of football that they've got. and that they play. They've still got the biggest asset, which is Iraola. If he goes, then maybe there's a conversation to be had. But he's not. He's still here. Fantastic gaffer. Bournemouth will be fine. Now, moving into my mid-tablers. In 13th place, lucky 13, I have got Nottingham Forest. Last season obviously finished in Europe, and because of the Crystal Palace situation, they're going to be in Europa League. I think that's arguably hindered them to an extent. Conference League, obviously Crystal Palace are in the same boat now. I think Forest would have been as well. If you're going into this as an English team, Conference League, you are just automatically the favourite, probably, regardless of club size. Obviously, Chelsea won it last year, but West Ham won it first time or second time it happened. The English side will consistently be favourite just because of the amount of money in this league. Europa League, slightly different. I think they'll get out of group, Nottingham Forest, but they're going to have to play strong teams every week for financial incentives that come with it. And I do think they will struggle in the league because of it. Especially, they were tailing off towards back end anyway. Whatever you want to say, they had a fantastic year, Nottingham Forest. But they did tail off towards back end. And with the amount of players that they've sold, because they've got rid of a fair few, the squad is slightly smaller now. I know there were a billion players here in first place. But I worry for the squad depth and how they'll fare in the league, especially when they start going to Timbuktu on a Wednesday night. Do you know what I mean? Then I think they might struggle a little bit. But this would still be a mint year. Like Nottingham Forest, yes, they're a big side. But in relative to Premier League, they probably are 13th-ish in terms of club size. They had a fantastic year to get Europe. This would be another fantastic year. If they can do half decent in Europe and be mid-table in Premier League again, the money that's going to bring you in, you've got to think long-term. You're not just going to immediately go, oh, we'll get in Champions League next year. Because you look at Newcastle and Aston Villa and teams that are miles bigger than Forest, like from an infrastructure point of view and the money that they've got, and they struggle to do it. So you're not going to. The players that are coming, somebody from Bologna and two from Botafogo, come on, lads, I don't watch even Bundesliga or Spanish football, so I'm not going to watch Brazilian, am I? But they managed to keep Morgan Gibbs-White. I'm not even going to speak about that because I'll end up getting some letter through me door for speaking about Nottingham Forest owner. But fantastic business, mate. If he were Barnsley owner, I'd be loving it, so I can't say out. But yeah, I think Forest will be in and around 13th. In 11th, I've got Fulham. If we can get in there. Well, I'm looking at a transfer window. They've brought in a keeper for 400 grand and lost no one. I don't really know what's going on, but Fulham are happy with their squad. They're happy with what their season and existence is, and I think that's just 11th. Very boring, very Fulham, and we'll just move on. Into 10th and top half, I think this might be the first time ever, because they always seem to be 11th or 12th. I've got Crystal Palace, the FA Cup and Community Shield winners. Oh, major honours galore, baby. When it rains, it pours, doesn't it? No trophy ever, and then two in space for about 3 months. Now, again, looking at the outgoings for a team like Palace, you're always thinking about an Eze or a Wharton or something. Nobody's gone. They've let Jeffrey Schlupp go. Rob Holding, players that just weren't good enough for him anyway, but they've all gone now. They've brought in Borna Sosa from Ajax for about £1.5 million. I mean, that's really good business, even if he's just a backup. For that price, it's really good. And Walter Benitez, who I'm assuming is going to be a backup keeper from PSV. That's it. Very similar to Fulham in terms of they've not actually done a great deal. Squad depth, again, is something that I think Palace could be hindered by. But also, if they're in Conference League, I think that helps them as opposed to being in Europa League. Palace could just put out a bunch of kids all the way up until probably quarter-final and still be fine. So, not really going to affect the season that much, and they're also a very good team. Like, regardless of what anybody wants to say, second half of last season, we talk about Forest sliding down a little bit. Palace were very, very good. Glasner, fantastic gaffer. They've got players like Mateta, Eze, even Ismail Sarr's been really good. Wharton, like, obviously Gurry's still there. The squad's crazy. Or the starting 11 at least is very good. And yeah, I expect him to win Conference League, to be honest. And they might take, I think Palace's season might be to start quite fast. Obviously, winning Community Shield is just going to be a game of boost as well. But they don't really need to mess about too much with the team in terms of the fatigue side of things up until later in competition in Conference League. I think towards the back end they might tail off a little bit. And I would like to see them make some more signings just based on the squad depth and the fact that they've got to, like I said, they've got to fly to arse end of nowhere in midweek and come back. Palace are a good side, and I think 10th is quite fair, so I'll put them in there. Now this, for me, is where it starts getting tough. See, I've just said all that about Palace being 10th and I've got him in 11th. I don't even know anymore. Well, now moving into top half and 10th, I have got Everton. I'm kidding. I've got Man United in 10th. So they've lost nobody. Obviously, Rashford's gone out on loan to Barcelona, but he's just not in the plans anymore, is he? But there was nothing that they could really lose anyway. They've obviously kept Bruno, who's the prized asset. Everything else, I would say, can just go. And I don't think a club like Man United would truly miss him. But they've proper gone for it. Just said they've got no European football at all, which again is something that I think will help them and shove them up table a little bit, despite them still being in 10th. They've got Sesko in, a striker, Brian Mbeumo from Brentford, and Matheus Cunha from Wolves. Obviously, I've never seen Sesko in my life, but Mbeumo and Cunha, very Man United. Just go and pick the best players from every other Premier League side. That is exactly what vintage Man United Sir Alex would do. Every player they had, more or less, came from another Premier League side. They just took them all. But when you've got that much money, and you've got the aura and stature, which is, even though we are shit, we're Man United, baby, you just come to us and players just will. You've got to use that to your advantage, man, and they have done. I think the window's been really good. Thing is, they've only addressed one area at pitch, and that's it. The midfield, apart from Bruno, is shit. The defence is shit. The keeper's shit. So they might score a lot more goals, but they're going to concede boatloads still. They're arse everywhere else. Bruno, Cunha, and Mbeumo and Sesko, fantastic. Man United. Rest of them, ass. And where did they finish last season? Like 15th, something like that. Obviously, Europa League losers to Tottenham. I'm not convinced by the manager. I'm not convinced by his unwillingness to try and adapt with players that just cannot play how he wants them to play because they're just shit. By Man United standards, that is. I'm saying they're shit, but they're obviously not. Do you know what I mean? But in terms of Man United standards, they're not even close to being good enough, a lot of these lads. And I think 10th, seriously, it'd be a very good year for him. I'm not even joking. I think they're miles off. Don't even talk about top 4. I think the miles of chasing for Europe. I think the miles off a team like Villa or Brighton. Some of these that have just been on cusp or in it for a bit in the last couple of years, they're miles away. They're a much more completed team than what Man United are. And if they address middle at park and get another centre mid and 2 defenders and a keeper in from now till end, then I'll probably put them like 6th for to push. But for right now, Man United to me, 10th place, top half, really good year for lads. 9th, now this is where I've got Everton. I'm going into, they're not even Europe, are they? Unless like this season someone rogue wins FA Cup or something, Everton, I will be realistic and say 9th and just missing out on a Conference League place. Fantastic transfer window. Seriously. They've let a lot of Everton players go. And you know what I mean when I read these names out. Calvert-Lewin, Doucouré, Mason Allgate's been out on loan, but Mason Allgate, Ashley Young. These type of guys that have been here since dawn of time. Since sun first come over horizon, these lads have been in an Everton kit. And finally, they're getting rid of a lot of these guys that have had them down in relegation scraps where Everton should not be. Now, the players that they've brought in, the ones that I can actually speak about, Mark Travers, I think, is a great backup. Obviously, Pickford's one of the best keepers in the league anyway, but Mark Travers is a great backup. Adam Asnou, another wonder kid on Football Manager, so he's going to be good. Carlos Alcaraz were at Southampton previously. £12 million, really good. Dewsbury from Chelsea for about 25 mil. Now, just forget what he were at Chelsea and remember what he were at Leicester. Outrageous signing for, respectfully, someone like Everton. He was never a Chelsea player, but he'd be a very good Everton one. This lad called Barry from Villarreal, apparently he's like a big, old-up forward and all. He's just a better Calvert-Lewin and Beto. So, and he's 22. A bit of Spain in Everton, bloody hell. The link with Jack Grealish, who's not been announced as of right now, but it's been here we go, so it might as well be. They've got Njai. Mate, they've got some attacking lads. I think they'll be an exciting watch, Everton. Moyes knows crack now. I think they're better than everybody like behind them, obviously, that I've got on here. Like Palace, I think, are a better side than Everton. But the European side of things could play a factor later on its season. Man United are just not as good. I'm being completely real. Man United are not as good as Everton. Everton have got some fantastic players, fantastic gaffer. I think the worst is behind them now. I don't think they'll be in a relegation scrap again. But I've got them just missing out on a European spot in 9th. Into 8th place, and a side that has been up and challenging the best for a number of years now. I have got Newcastle, who I think will finish in the Conference League place 8th. Now, this is no fault of his own, but I think Eddie Howe could be in a bit of trouble this season. Now, they've not lost anybody of serious note yet. They've got a good fee for Lloyd Kelly. I can't really believe it. And Sean Longstaff. 2 players that have, well, since the turn of the money, are not going to be good enough for Newcastle United. End of. They've brought in Anthony Elanga. Great signing. Truly, that is a really good signing. But after losing out on Trafford to Man City, they've got Aaron Ramsdale in the net. What are we doing here? What's happened last time Aaron Ramsdale's been at a club? 3 times in a row. Bournemouth, Sheffield United, Southampton, relegated. I know I said, like, you can't just look at one guy and think, oh, well, they got relegated, so you're shit. If you look at Liam Delap and some other lads that have gone from relegated sides, they're really good. But Ramsdale is actually just not good. Like, I might have my YouTube video up in the middle of a game because I can't concentrate. Really poor business. They want Visser, obviously, from Brentford, which would be a good buy. Obviously, the Isaac thing is one that's taken main stage for a lot of this summer. It's always been about Isaac and the fact that he wants to leave. Obviously, Liverpool have spent £1 billion, but they've still got more for Isaac, apparently. They gave him the ultimatum of, give us Isaac or we're going to take Ekitike. The rolled dice, Ekitike has gone to Liverpool and now Isaac wants to leave. So you've rolled dice and got one of these. It couldn't have gone worse, really. I still think they'll be up and around it. Like, I still think they'll qualify for Europe. But it's just such a clown fest behind scenes that I do think it will play a part. And obviously you've got to take into account that a few teams last year were absolute arse that normally just aren't. For example, like Man United obviously being one and Tottenham. Tottenham I haven't put in yet because I think they'll be better. But Man United were really poor last season. Teams that you'd always expect to be near the top. Even West Ham for the last few years have been flirting with Europe, haven't they? Plus Newcastle in Champions League as well. It's just a lot to deal with at once. So I think it'll be, I'd swear down, if they have this amount of shit going on behind the scenes, and not spending loads of money as of yet. I don't know if they even can with stupid PSR rules. Still in market for a striker because Sesko went, obviously Ekitike went as well. And if they do get a big fee for Isaac, you either get 120 million quid or you make your striker pull his finger out of his ass and pick his dummy up and just make him play. I don't know when players thought that signing a contract meant they could dictate when they went or not, but he's under contract for a number of years. Play or they're rotting in reserves. Do you know what I mean? That's what I would do personally. Either play and try, or their career's finished. It's embarrassing that players just think, despite signing a contract on hundreds of thousands of pounds a week, they hold the pulling power and negotiation when they just don't. But yeah, I just think with the amount of crap that's going on behind closed doors, Newcastle for me, I've got in 8th. Into 7th, and my first Europa League spot, I have got Totspur. Now, the loss of Son is quite something. They've got 20 million quid from LAFC though. I don't know where they've got that sort of money from. Højbjerg's obviously gone and they've got a good fee for him as well. They've sent a few lads out on loan, not important. And in terms of incomings, obviously Thomas Frank, new manager. They're off back of winning a trophy, which I think will give them a boost anyway. And yes, they finished 17th last season, right? That were a fairly regular thing, like in 90s. Tottenham were arse. I remember when Barnes were in Premier League, well I don't because I weren't born. But after scanning the table, Tottenham and Everton, they were down there that year, you know, and then obviously a bit of rigging, couple of red cards in a few games for Reds to get them down to save these boys. It's all corrupt as shit, innit? I'm not crying. But Tottenham's incomings, obviously new manager Thomas Frank, very good. They brought Kudus in from West Ham, who again, I don't know with that one. I'm not overly convinced. They've bought Tell from Bayern Munich who are on loan anyway. They've got Polinia from Bayern Munich who are at Fulham, obviously. That's a good signing. The link with Savinho from Man City, who's still young. It's just another one that I think, it's very Tottenham. You're never going to win league with these type of lads ever, but Tottenham are never going to win league again anyway. Come on, unless there's some divine miracle going on, they're not going to win league either. Europa League's one thing. Come on. I saw the Levy interview on Overlap and he's like, well, we want to win Premier League. Good luck. They're making signings that warrant Europa League football. If we're being completely honest, Kudus, Savinho, Tell, João Polinia. Whoa! So I've got them in 7th. 6th. I struggled on this one. I've played with it many times, but 6th, seriously, I have got. Oh, I put champion. Oh no, what have I done? I put Tottenham there. Sorry, lads, get back in there. 6th, I have got Aston Villa. Outgoings first. None that mean anything. Let's have a look at the incomings. Evan Guasand, a striker from OGC Nice for about £25 million. And then somebody called Yasin Özkan from a Turkish side, a centre-back. Bizot from Stade Bestois. I have no idea who any of these guys are. They could walk past me in the street and I wouldn't know. So I can't say anything. I just can't say anything. The depth's obviously slightly stronger, I guess you could say. And the thing that separates Villa to, well, Newcastle and Palace and Forest, obviously the infrastructure, and Villa being probably biggest at rest out at top 6, aren't they? Villa are a massive, massive club. The infrastructure behind them, similar to Newcastle in that extent, and the money that they've got and the years that they've been in Premier League now, warrants being able to sort of rack it a little bit and challenge again with the squad depth that they've got and the money that they can spend. But Villa have got a manager in Emre who's done this for fun year after year at Villarreal. He's done it at Villa. Since he's come in, they've qualified for Europe and then qualified for Europe like consistently. I think they'll do it again. I don't think that is a problem for them, managing league and European expectations at the same time. They've obviously got some outrageously good footballers, like Rodgers were brilliant last year. Watkins, I think they've got some apologising to do to him if they want him to play, obviously after getting benched for Rashford, when Watkins had done all hard work to get him into Europe in first place. But that's just how it goes, innit? You can't complain. They've got some very good players. The squad depth's just really good as well. Defensively, I like them. I think Villa will be just fine again. Probably not Champions League because some teams are just way too strong. But I think Villa have got a decent chance at getting Europe comfortably again. And into 5th and probably Champions League now because with coefficiency ratings, that's how it's just going to work. England and Spain, more than likely, will get it every year. But England definitely. I've got Brighton. surprisingly, I think we'll get the Champions League place. But why? Because they've let some players go. They have. João Pedro's gone. What, 55 million quid? Simon Adingra has gone to Sunderland for 20. Estupinan's gone for about 15. Valentin Barco's gone for about 8. It's 110, roughly, million pounds that have been brought in. They've bought Kramalamalapoulos Costalusas from Olympiacos. 18, 30 million quid, so it must be good. Maxim de Kuiper, Tom Watson from Sunderland, obviously. They've brought some other bits here and there. I've not got a clue any of them are. But the general squad building with Brighton, and I'm taking a gamble here, a big one, based on the fact that I think these will work. Because not many don't work. Like, you're obviously looking at Barco, who had a lot of hype at time, who was just being sold, so that one didn't. But a lot of them do. The middle at Park is crazy how good some of them players is. The depth that Brighton have got, outrageous. And the main reason that I've got for this, obviously Brighton towards back end of season was scoring loads of goals. They were winning a lot of games. They had a really good back end of season. When you look at the teams below them, Aston Villa, I know I said it's not a problem, but Brighton have got nothing. Aston Villa are in Europe. Tottenham are in Europe. Newcastle are in Europe. Palace, Forest, these are in it as well. And the teams that are all above them in it as well. But these three especially, who I think are the biggest threats, being completely genuine to the Champions League place and European football in general, are all in Europe, and they've got to manage them expectations as well. Brighton have not. Brighton have got no European football to worry about. Obviously, they might go far in domestic cups, FA Cup at Mickey Mouse, who knows. But I think they can purely focus on, there's 9 teams in Europe in this division this year. We can really have a serious go. And they've always been on cusp. Last couple of years, since they got it in first place with De Zerbi, they've been on cusp sparring in around it anyway, haven't they? And I think they will really take advantage of the amount of teams that are in it this year when their full focus is going to be on league. And I think Brighton will get 5th. I think it's it'll be the highest ever finish. But I think they could do it. Brighton 5th, Champions League. Now, the real debate, the obvious top 4 for next season, Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool and Man City. It's just, where you're sticking them. And there's a lot to decide on. But first and foremost, I have settled on Arsenal in 4th, which I think a lot of people would have Chelsea there, but I'm not having it. Now, their outgoings mean no, so I'm just not even going to address them. The players that they've brought in, I think, are good. Zubimendi, Liverpool wanted him. He's going to be a very good defensive midfielder. He's tall. He's very Arteta. Gyökeres, same thing. They've finally addressed the striker situation that they actually needed. Fantastic. They've got somebody who can put ball in net. I think people are looking a little bit too much about the specifics of him and how he runs and his timing to kick ball. Oh my God. Striker puts ball in net. Striker knows where onion bag is. Goal equals good. Just come on, man. Stop looking into it a bit too deeply. Gyökeres is a good forward. Mosquera from Valencia, he's going to be good. Norgard from Brentford, really good depth. Kepa, I know he's a backup, but bloody hell. The thing that there's something in here, and he's going to start every week. And everybody that thinks that he's not, I just think you're lost. Noddy Madueke from Chelsea, 50 million quid. He is naturally a right winger. I think he will start on the left. You are not going to spend 50 million pounds on someone to sit on the bench. It's not going to happen. He's going to be on a wedge at Chelsea, because everybody is. He's not going to leave Chelsea unless he's getting more money and game time. Otherwise, I'll just sit on bench here. Do you know what I mean? What's the point? He is going to start on left wing, I'm convinced. And he's just not one. Saka, outrageous footballer. One at best. I think Gyökeres is going to score a lot of goals. Rice, Zubimendi, you're looking at very good players in Odegaard. A lot of very good players. The defence is solid. But I still think they struggle from open play. I think they'll score a lot of goals from set pieces, but from open play against good sides, I do think they will struggle. I think this is a failure from Arteta's point of view as well, but I think he could be quite a weakness. I am settling on Arsenal in 4th. I think Chelsea, Man City, and especially Liverpool look like more complete sides. And people will look at the Chelsea one and wonder, well, why? Because they finished 4th last season and they were never really in a title race with other 3. Well, nobody were. Well, Liverpool's to lose from 5th week. But when you watch these teams, I think Chelsea are a much more complete team than Arsenal are. It's got to be said. I've had a bet with Scafe and all that. I think Chelsea will finish above Arsenal and he's not having it. But he did beat me on Ipswich one last year. But Arsenal, I've got in 4th. Now, in 3rd place, I've got Man City. Now, Pep's original side, Pep's Avengers to start with, a lot of them are coming to end or are going. John Stones is knocking on. Do you know what I mean? Edison's not been... I don't think he's a guarantee to be number 1 this season. Obviously, Walker's gone. De Bruyne's gone. Bernardo Silva's knocking on. Gundogan's just not good enough anymore. Them players that he carried through a number of years, they're coming to end of that crop. And Walker is going to be a miss. Whenever anybody says the presence and the... I guess the dressing room side of things, I think he'll be a miss. Same as De Bruyne. De Bruyne were getting injured quite a lot. but he would still win you 10 points on his own easily, just from scoring from note or pulling one of the best passes you've ever seen in your life out when he could be fit. That is a miss. It's going to be a miss, that. Players that they've brought in, we're talking about some of the best players that there is to offer right now. Like Ryan Aït-Nouri from Wolves, I think is brilliant. Ryan Cherki from Lyon looks good. Trafford's a great keeper. This Rangers from AC Milan's cost a lot of money. They've spent a lot of brass in a lot of different positions. They've got Pep. You'd be an alien to write Pep off, and I'm not doing that because I think they'll finish third. But again, I'm being completely serious. Even though Man City have got players like Haaland and Ruben Diaz and Gvardiol and some of the best players in the world, I think Chelsea are a more complete team than Man City. I really do. I've been watching a lot of the games recently and highlights of them just to see like the general play. And I weren't a big fan of manager when he were at Leicester. I think he had one way of playing and he had all best players in the league, and that's why I won league with Leicester. And when he went to Chelsea, I was like, well, he's fallen upstairs here because I don't think he warrants that job. But when you give him the players to do it, which they are doing when you're bringing players like, well, we'll just, you know what? I'm not going to put him in now because who knows? But I think Chelsea are just better than Man City and Arsenal. I do. I don't even need to justify Liverpool when you look at the money that they've spent. But Chelsea have only actually got a net spend of £40 million this summer, right? And they've brought in João Pedro, Liam Delap, Estevao, whatever his name is. He looks mint. Jamie Gittins from Dortmund, Hato from Ajax, like all these lads. The depth is crazy. Obviously, they've got Champions League as well. But I think you could just change team willy-nilly and it'll be fine. Like I said, going back to the manager situation when he was at Leicester, he won't leave because he had all best players. And the play style that he uses and plays warrants that of having best players in the league. We are getting there with Chelsea. People that write off Caicedo, you are an alien. João Pedro is fantastic. The defence, I think they've been unlucky with a hit to Colwill. But I like the defence for the most part. Bob Sanchez is a little bit of a worry, and they've got 8 keepers behind him that are all shit. But I like Chelsea, man. And I've got to say, I like Chelsea. Part of me wants to say they'll win the league, but I just don't think they will. I think Chelsea finish second, and Liverpool will win the league. Liverpool are my good. Like, I spent a long time there gassing up Chelsea, which is fair, in my opinion. Liverpool, they run away with league last season. They took the foot off gas in March and strolled to it without even breaking sweat. They've got rid of... Well, I said got rid of. They've got good sales for Trent, who were leaving on a free. They got money for him. Nat Phillips have got money. Tyler Morton, Kelleher, Kwanzaa, Nunes. Players that, apart from Trent, were just never good enough for Liverpool, ever. 60-odd mil for Luis Diaz. Oh, I like him. I really do like him. But the net spend of Liverpool, again, we're talking about Chelsea's there and the players that they've brought in. Liverpool have spent outrageous, unprecedented amounts of money. And the net spend is 90 mil. Which is a lot, but 90 mil. When you've brought in Florian Wirtz, Ekitike, Kirksers, Frimpong, 4 immediate starters to best team in the league by a mile last season. I think if they bring Isaac in especially, because they've still got money there, haven't they, if they're flirting with him. If they bring Isaac in, I think there's a real chance of back to back to back. Like a Pep. I think we're looking at something crazy here if they get Isaac off at line. Because the players that they've brought in, the oldest one out of them 4 is 24 with Frimpong. And you're looking at some of the best players in the world in the position. To add to a lot of best players in the world in the position. Or just full-on best players in the world, full stop. Slightly worried about the defensive side of things. If they get an injury to someone like Van Dijk and then you're rocking Gomez and Kanate, probably need a centre-half in. But the depth's outrageous apart from in that position. The team's crazy. They were best team in the league by a mile last season for a reason. I think they will be again. I don't think it'll be the same margin, but I think they will win the league again. So Liverpool are my title winners with a top 4 of Chelsea, Man City and Arsenal behind, but Brighton in Champions League as well. And then to see our all league, I've got Villa, Tottenham and Newcastle all getting in Europe. Everton in 9th with Man United 10th. Bournemouth, Wolves, Brentford and West Ham all scrapping. 18th Sunderland, 19th Leeds and Burnley last. But that is it. They are my Premier League predictions for the 25-26 season. Boys and girls, it's been an absolute blast. And anything else, whatever you are, like the video right now and subscribe. Thank you very much. It helps me out a lot. Love you all. Kiss and I'll see you in a bit. Goodbye.
Say I'm a man, yes, I'm a mucker. I think of me saying as a right good looker. I say up that. Show us the tits.